Support WrestleTalk!
Download the podcast.
Hello and welcome to WrestleRamble. This is Luke Owen, I'm Ollie Davis, and today we're doing a news episode, which means we're giving our thoughts and opinions on the news this week, including what is going on with Roman Reigns, John Cena and Raw, is Batista going into the Hall of Fame, and the huge wrestling controversy from AAA last weekend, which was where a wrestling match turned into a shoot fight. If you want to go to any of those discussions, click the timestamps in the video description below, or stay here where I'm very briefly going to say subscribe to the podcast version of this show, and then a little news segment that we teased on Wednesday.
We did indeed, yeah.
We've got some replies from people. We've got actually quite a few. We're only going to get to a couple of them. But on Wednesday, we came up with the idea of crap gimmicks.
We did. Sorry, I was just laughing to myself. I was thinking of that video you just showed me. Sorry.
Sorry, I just I showed Luke a video of me getting punched.
No, don't spoil it. It's so good. But it was for a Patreon backer. God, it was just really made me laugh.
There's a video of me online from when I was 20 where I tried to defend some girls' honour in a hotel because they were being roughed around and I got punched in the face. And Luke finds this hilarious, so as does most other people who have seen it.
It is funny.
It's security footage from the hotel.
It looks like it's made up, and it's not, and it's wonderful. Anyway, but yes, crap gimmicks.
Yeah, so crap gimmicks, you've been in touch. So the idea is you just come up with the worst ideas possible for a wrestling character, send them in to us, we'll read them, we'll read them, and then laugh at them.
Yes. Someone actually added to our fishmonger gimmick.
Oh, yeah?
Saying that he should have a valet called Annette.
Oh, that is
very
superb pun work.
That is tasty.
And the exact sort of crap WWE could do. So well done, person who suggested that. Do you remember who it was?
I cannot remember. Sorry, I just saw it.
You hate the fans. Luke hates the fans.
Be friendly in the comments.
This is from Jay Downey, #1. So presumably just Jay Downey was taken. Feel for you there, man. I'm Ollie Davis 88 in most things.
I thought it was your birth year.
It is, but yeah.
Oh, sorry, okay.
That means now everyone knows my birth year.
Yeah, well,
Some people always say, how old are you?
Yeah, 45.
Because you look really old with the grey hair.
I know, mate.
So this is from Jay Downey. I really want to see a really young wrestler play the part of a veteran who keeps making absolutely ridiculous claims about things he did, like claim he wrestled a legend, but in a place he'd rarely been to. In a year he wasn't active. Example, I wrestled Hogan in the 90s, brother. 95,000 people in Argentina. Just every time it gets more absurd, but no one really calls him out on it. I want to see how long it could go on paper before the younger generation catches on that it's impossible he's done these things.
So what he wants to do is essentially have Hulk Hogan in real life as a wrestling character.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Where it's just like body slammed Andre the Giant in front of 130,000 people, brother. Actually, no, it's like 1.3 million people, brother. Just like the number just keeps changing no matter when he's telling the story. Metallica wanted me to play bass for them, brother. I was going to be the face of the George Foreman grill, brother, but I wasn't at home to answer the call.
This is actually quite a good gimmick.
I like that.
You know what? I might actually have to outrule this for the crap gimmicks.
Yeah.
Because this has legs.
That has legs. That's a great gimmick.
Especially, that could be really, really funny. Yeah, that could be, and you could
as a real low level undercard comedy character. Like that's perfect for a Fandango.
Yeah, because like one of the traits of a chicken S-word heel, or like the Miz, for instance, is you're a heel. You're announcing, you're exaggerating your own ability. I'm the A-lister. I've starred in all these Hollywood movies when really it's just WWE Studios produced ones. I'm the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Really it's his Miz, Taraj and Maurice that's helping him. But they are just exaggerations of a core point.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of anyone who just flat out lies and makes up stuff that's never happened.
That'd be great. I'm afraid, Jay Downey, you've actually come up with a great gimmick.
You know what? His other one is good.
Yeah. Ex-bodybuilder becomes WWE referee.
There's more to this.
Oh, excellent.
Ex-bodybuilder who becomes a WWE referee, no sells ref bumps. Slowly becomes a foil for heels, building up to a major WrestleMania level angle, whereas a top babyface finally has his first match against a top heel.
Oh, I like that as well.
Do you know what? TNA have done it.
Have they really?
Yeah.
Oh, with blue shoes.
Was it Blue Shoes? I can't remember the name of him, but it was a referee who was a lot physically fitter than a lot of people.
The bald
who
guy, right?
Wrestling, I think it was. Yeah.
I think his name was Mark or something. But he wore like red. Red, and it's not red shoes. But he wore like blue tennis shoes.
Okay.
And it was just like everyone spotted him out because like he's wearing blue shoes.
And the heels would start on him, and he'd always go, I'm just a referee. But one day he was like, and they finally pushed him back, and they had a match. And but that was widely criticised as a bad way to introduce a character.
Garrett Bischoff certainly didn't get over that way either.
I prefer it as a comedy thing again. This is a bad one because it's not going to have any good results.
Yes, pretty much.
So well done. That is a crap gimmick. I like how we're rewarding people for coming up with the worst ideas. Your gimmick's too good. No, it doesn't count here. And the last one we'll do today is from Alex Pearson. The gimmick is inspired by Sin Cara and basically entails botching every move they attempt. Suplex, arm drag, dive, you name it, they botch it. However, they have one move that is hard to pull off, involves a long taunt and a high-risk maneuver similar to Martin Kirby's Zoidberg elbow or Santino's Cobra, and nobody ever kicks out of it. Hope you like it.
Is that a bad gimmick?
It would be if it was just the first part.
Yeah, if you were just like the gimmick was you botch moves.
But it's very hard for the second part to not get over.
Yes.
Because everyone naturally, when it's anything with a long taunt, people's elbow, Scotty Too Hotty's the worm,
Glorious at the moment.
Glorious. It's going to get people just wanting to see the payoff bit. And if you keep, WWE forget this sometimes. If you keep teasing something and don't give it, when the audience eventually get it, they're happy.
They're very happy.
So, but that will get over as a baby.
The Scotty Too Hotty one is a great example there. When you used to do the worm, you do like the whole bah, bah, and then do the WORM and things like that. But I used to love it when heels would come in and stop the worm.
Yeah.
Because the heat you get from stopping Scotty doing the worm. Oh, because the crowd want to see it.
Well, because I remember because I was a kid, I wasn't smart to the business at all. I was genuinely annoyed when I didn't get to see my favourite move.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes this old-fashioned. That's good. But yes, so we're going to say that is not a crap gimmick.
It's not crap enough.
It's not crap enough.
No, unfortunately not. No, but if you think you can come up with a crapper gimmick, this is why I don't do links, because I stumble over words. If you think you can do crapper gimmicks, let us know. Email him, Oli@WrestleTalk.tv.
So this is the second news one we've ever done. This is fun, isn't it?
I like talking about the news with you, because I think I said the last time, we do news videos, but we don't often just get to sit down and actually talk about the news itself. So, yes, it should be good fun.
We don't get to shoot the Tyler Breeze.
No, we don't. And so and especially when you've got such a hot topic of conversation, like Sexy Star and Triple Mania. So do you want to take us over the genesis of this story?
Okay, so I'll do my best. Last Saturday was Triple Mania, which is Triple A's biggest show of the year. It's there, WrestleMania, as the name would betray. And it did like a 22.6 rating in Mexico.
Yeah, it did, and it drew like a really good house as well.
Yeah, so it's their biggest show of the year. It was headlined by
Johnny Mundo.
No, it wasn't. It was
Wagner Jr. and Psycho
Clown, which is a huge match there.
It's the mask versus mask match. So Wagner Jr., like a legend within AAA, has now had to unmask. People thought it would never happen.
So that's a big deal. But earlier in the show, the big event made headlines for the wrong reasons, and this was in a four-way. Sexy Star of Lucha Underground fame. I've gone on a little bit hoarse there. of Lucha Underground fame. She was actually their world champion at one point, which a lot of people were annoyed about, but it works within the confines of Lucha Underground's fantastical plot. She is
on that. When we did Women Wrestling Men last time, I said it was Sexy Star. It was Eva Lee's I was thinking of.
Right.
Yes.
So Sexy Star is the Reina de Reinas champion, I believe it is. She won't be for much longer. Of AAA, and she was defending in a four-way against Lady Shania, someone else, Hamada, so I can't remember her first name, and Rosemary. Rosemary, of course, is from GFW, formerly TNA, and she was the GFW Women's Champion, Knockouts Champion. She was the one before the current one,
Sienna.
So it's Sienna at the moment. And at the end of this match, Sexy Star got Rosemary in an armbar, put too much torque, overextended, and it looked like she had popped the elbow out of its place, which of course is very, very bad.
Ouch.
It was a legit shoot, so she put on a legit hold. That wasn't fake wrestling. She actually tried to injure, allegedly, her competitor.
So the backstory to all this is that Sexy Star actually becoming Reigns WWE champion is of itself a controversy. It was Taya. It was Taya Valkyrie, who is the girlfriend, not wife. Is she the girlfriend?
I believe it's girlfriend of
Johnny Mundo, who is their world champion.
Johnny Impact now, formerly John Morrison, and previously Johnny Nitro.
Basically, Johnny Mundo was asked to bring the Reigns WWE Championship to a AAA show, which Taya wasn't performing at, so that they could do a photo shoot with it. Mundo never got the title back, and essentially they stole the title and gave it to Sexy Star on that show. They basically said, it's being vacated, Sexy Star is now the champion. And I can't even remember why they decided to take the belt, or why they essentially stole the belt off Taya Valkyrie. But it's this weird thing within AAA and Vampiro, and everyone's kind of sort of shooting on each other, and that was all legit shoot stuff. They've tried to turn it into.
You made a video covering it all, the Mexican screw job.
The Mexican screw job, absolutely. So that kind of sort of ties into this, and then during this 4-way match. What Meltzer was saying in the Wrestling Observer was that Sexy Star felt that Shani was taking legitimate shots at her, and she hit her for real. And Sexy Star's reaction to that was, "I'm just going to no-sell every bit of offense now, and I'm going to win this match and get out of here because they're trying to F me over." So she put a legit hold onto Rosemary, popped her elbow out, and left with the belt.
Yeah.
She claimed it was a work, and Rosemary then went on Twitter to say that it wasn't a work. Apparently it was chaos backstage because Jeff Jarrett's there representing GFW, or the GFW locker room are really angry and upset. Actually, the wrestling community as a whole got very angry and upset. Cody Rhodes said that he will never work with Sexy Star, and she's not allowed in any locker room that he's a part of. So everyone's kind of very much standing alongside Rosemary, as we all should, because this sort of thing really shouldn't be happening in wrestling in 2017. It is all a work. Let's all just be friends about it. But yeah, man, what a story! And I got a lot of crap on Twitter on Saturday because I didn't know the full story. I just saw the video, and everyone was like, "Is it a shoot? Is it a work?" And I basically said, "I don't know. It could be a shoot. It could be a work. This is wrestling after all. We don't know anything."
And Vampiro's involved.
And Vampiro's involved. And then a load of people got onto me say that I was being essentially being a mark because this is a shoot, and that I should think smarter about tweeting things like that. And I was like, I didn't say it was a work. I just said there's a possibility it could be a work. Brian Pillman legit got himself fired, and that was a work. He worked Eric Bischoff into being fired.
Yeah. The actual incident itself, really, it's because I think it's affected the wrestling community. So many different wrestlers. You mentioned Cody Rhodes, Road Dogg, who's the head. Well, I don't know if he's the head writer, but he's very high up on SmackDown at the moment. Jesse James, of course. He said, "Is this true? If so, remind me to never work with her," or which insinuates she's never getting a job at WWE. A lot of her Lucha Underground colleagues, like Ricochet and Joey Ryan, also tweeted out saying, condemning people who turn matches into legit shoots.
Yeah.
And you can see why they are so annoyed, because wrestling is so based on trust. It's essentially one big, what do you call it when you stand up and you just fall backwards?
Trustful.
Trustful. That's what wrestling is. It's one big trustful, because you are putting your life, essentially your life, definitely your health, in your competitor's arms.
At the circus, when people are doing tightrope walks and things like that, if they're doing it as a part of a thing, cheerleading actually, where you have to balance people and throw people around, it's all about trust. You have to trust the people that you're working with.
Yeah, so as soon as you abuse that, it kind of is the old zombie mentality of one bite and you're out. Because how do you regain that trust of something that is so fragile? Now, just to play devil's advocate and to give both sides of so Sexy Star obviously shouldn't have done it. I think we're all happy with that. That's a good point, a good stance to have.
I think so, yeah.
However, in the heat of the moment, you're in a AAA match. You've got it's a fatal 4-way. 2 of those people are hitting you. So apparently this was Dave Meltzer did say that Lady Shania had heat with Sexy Star previously.
And that's why she hit her for real.
Don't know who hit who first, but Shania is hitting Sexy Star. I think it's Sexy Star's sister claimed that, and also that Hamada started going after Sexy Star as well.
And poor Rosemary was the one that had to take the brunt of all of it.
But this is, the lights are hot and they're on you and they're blinding. You're surrounded by people, but somehow you're completely alone. I can see how you suddenly panic in that situation, just grab the nearest person to you and do everything you can to get out of it. This isn't the finish, I'm going to make you tap. And I guess the way to make someone tap is apply it for reals is.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunately, thankfully, Rosemary's injury isn't as severe as first thought. It's just it's like a strained bicep, which will take a few weeks out, but hopefully she'll be back soon. So from that perspective, although still very, very wrong, I'm just trying to see the other side.
Exactly, playing devil's advocate, which I think is a fine stance to take. And but I mean, I completely disagree with everything that Sexy Star did in the ring. I think the wrestlers should be looking after each other. I think that one of the bizarrest things to come out of this, though, GFW were very upset by the whole thing, as you could imagine. Jeff Jarrett was fuming. All of the backstage guys were fuming. Yet GFW are still maintaining their relationship with AAA. And Jeremy Borash is going down there to represent GFW for their next set of AAA tapings, because they just want to maintain this working relationship with them.
But I don't know if it was...
Which is a very TNA thing to do.
GFW.
I know, but like that holdover of TNA business, it's just a very TNA thing to do.
But it doesn't seem... AAA isn't at fault here. It was the person in the match who's responsible.
But are AAA taking any action against Sexy Star?
I would assume they'd have to. I don't know that yet, but Vampiro and Jeff Jarrett apparently had a bust up afterwards, just verbally. But that's also understandable.
Mm-hmm.
It is all a mess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I would just say that if this was WWE and one of their stars had gone over to another promotion and that promotion had legitimately went out to hurt someone, WWE would just cut ties with them immediately.
Yeah.
And just say, we're not working with you.
Yeah, so it is... I mean, I've spoken to people and fans of the product, and it's like, sometimes people have the view, yeah, but it's wrestling, isn't it? You teach people a lesson in that. This isn't... This example is different, but some people are of the opinion, say... if Enzo's being rubbish, just to pluck a name who's got heat at the moment, Enzo's being disrespectful backstage, maybe you lay in a few elbows.
You go in there and you haze him.
Yeah, so JBL infamously did this to the Blue Meanie at ECW One Night Stand, where
well,
they legitimately kicked the crap out of him.
That was more of an accident, really. I think the story goes is that someone hit JBL on the back of their heads during the melee. JBL turned around and thought it was the meanie and then laid into him for that. As it turned out, no one actually went after JBL in particular. He just thought that the meanie was going after it. And they buried the hatchet, and Meanie beat him on an episode of SmackDown and they had this match. But a better example, actually, of JBL was when the Public Enemy came into WWE, or WWF at the time, thought they were the hottest thing because they were really over in ECW and really over in WCW. So they were like, oh, we'll come into WWF and be brilliant. And they were out of shape, just looked like backyard wrestlers, just didn't look like WWF superstars. And so the APA went out there and just beat the holy hell out of them. Just beat the crap out of them. And then to see if they would complain. Because the whole idea is just like, oh, they're so hardcore because they're from ECW, but they're complaining that we hit them a little bit hard. They're not hardcore at all. Off they go out the door. They did the exact same thing then to the Dudley Boys when they came in. Took them out, and the match is on the network. And it's on an episode of Raw, and they just beat the dog piss out of them, throwing hither and yonder. And when they went backstage, the Dudley Boys just said, thank you very much, guys, that was really good. I think we put on a really good show out there.
Can I have another?
And that was it. And and it's on the Dudley Boys documentary that's on the network as well. And JBL on there just goes like, after that, nothing, everything was fine.
So you saw me smile there, like the Dudley Boys, they've earned the respect. That's cool. And it is kind of romantic looking back at wrestling even 10 years ago, where these sorts of things happened. In the same way it's romantic to look back at Prohibition America and say, oh, the gangsters running around. But the real truth of the matter is that has no place. Well, I at least think it doesn't.
No, I don't think it does either.
In today's wrestling world.
Exactly. Enzo would be made an example of at the moment, but that's just not the way they do things now.
Yeah, so hopefully this doesn't... I mean, it will happen again, but hopefully not for a long time. What is going on with John Cena and Roman Reigns at Raw? Because much of the confusion comes from just conflicting reports from wrestling news websites. We're going to go a bit inside baseball now because we love wrestling news. We know the Dave Meltzers and the Ryan Satins. We can say people by name. The Mike Johnsons, of course, of PW Insider.
Good lad.
And sometimes it's interesting to see who has the scoop. Like, if all of the guys all of those sites are reporting the same thing, you're like, well, this is gone now. This is going to happen. But if it's more often than not, it's just one person reporting one thing and someone else reporting another. So leading up to SummerSlam, Billy Batty of the Dirty Sheets was saying, everyone, it's going to be a fatal four-way. It's going to be Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe versus Roman Reigns versus, who was the other one? Braun Strowman.
Braun Strowman, yeah.
And Dave Meltzer was reporting, no, they've moved forward the planned main event for WrestleMania 34 of Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns to SummerSlam in order to get the title off of Brock. Reigns can have the championship and he can carry it through Raw. So better television ratings, presumably. As if the belt's a bigger draw than Brock Lesnar.
I was going to say, that's not the case at all.
And it turned out, obviously, it was the fatal four-way. And the Dirty Sheets had previously predicted... there was Jinder Mahal, and they had a hell of a good track record for 3 months. And then on Monday, we put up a news story based on the track record, almost 100% accurate, and it was Roman Reigns and John Cena's planned feuds. And they said that No Mercy, it was going to be John Cena versus Samoa Joe, which we'd predicted based on looking at the house show circuits.
Yeah,
they were advertising a lot of matches, but Roman Reigns was going to be going up against The Miz.
Yes, for the Intercontinental Championship.
Which was strange because it looked like Jason Jordan was going that way, but then they've dropped that. Who knows what's going on. They've definitely dropped Reigns and Miz, at least for now. The idea, Reigns would win the Intercontinental Championship and then he would be a Grand Slam winner. He would have won all the 4 major active titles in WWE. And then he could win the Universal title, big coronation, yada, yada, yada. So we made a video of that on Monday, did very well, but then I wake up Tuesday morning to watch Raw, and I'm like, that's not what's happening.
No, it was literally almost just after the video had been posted, because all of a sudden then I started getting messages on Twitter from people, WWE announced about 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time that John Cena versus Roman Reigns is happening at No Mercy, and they're doing a contract signing for it tonight on Raw.
Yeah, so, but, that doesn't negate... those plans. You could have had it. You could have had the contract signing. Contract signings interrupted by Samoa Joe. You should be facing a different Samoan. He beats up John Cena later on. A couple of weeks' time, Reigns gets involved with the Miz. I don't know. But prior to that, it was announced by PW Insider that Samoa Joe was going to face John Cena on that night's Raw, and they predicted the rest of the card. So. The Miz over the top battle royal. There was Banks versus Alexa Bliss, but that had been previously announced. But the number 1 contender Intercontinental title match happened. You're just touching my face there.
Just a little bit.
So that was obviously a last minute change because PW Insider are usually pretty accurate about that. So this No Mercy signing thing happened, and what the next day Dirty Sheets said it's because John Cena suddenly couldn't. He can't commit to anything after No Mercy because of this Transformers film, which has been shooting since mid-April.
Yes.
But he doesn't seem to have done anything for it so far because he's been doing the WWE tours. So Cena says he can't go to Survivor Series and have this long feud with Reigns, so they've moved that match to No Mercy, obviously. Cena's going to presumably go away after that to shoot Transformers. When he comes back, Dirty Sheets say it's going to be the SmackDown where he's going to defeat Jinder at Royal Rumble for the WWE title. What's going on? And in the background of all of this, the idea is that Brock Lesnar isn't booked for anything between No Mercy and Royal Rumble either. So you'll have no John Cena, no Brock Lesnar, or SmackDown or Raw for the next couple of months. What happens to Survivor Series? If that is true, that's pretty panicky for WWE.
It's weird that Brock's not at Survivor Series this year.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
I can't see that happening. But if they thought their big match was John Cena versus Roman Reigns, maybe they thought that was enough by itself. Have a few 5-on-5 traditional matches.
I imagine they'll do the Raw v SmackDown 5v5 match again.
Maybe Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens will be another draw.
Yeah.
like a rematch from Hell in the Cell if they have a match at Hell in the Cell.
Yeah.
It's just, it's all weird, and I can't figure out what's going on here.
No, and it's really weird. And I think that part of the problem that has come from all this, so obviously these might have been plans that were laid out, might be people speculating, it might be people being told this, that, and the other. But one of the things that has thrown a wrench in the works is Samoa Joe getting injured.
God, it's such a multifaceted story. I forgot about that.
And I think that Joe being injured is what has kind of thrown all this into, I don't want to say chaos, but has thrown this a little bit off kilter. A little bit like the episode of Raw that we went to in April.
Yeah.
They had a show laid out, and then Strowman got injured. And when Strowman got injured, they had to rewrite the entire show, which is why we ended up with being centered around Dean Ambrose versus The Miz. Was like the big feud that we got, the show-long feud we got for that episode of Raw.
Well, there were much longer-lasting implications of that because Wrestling Observer were always reporting it was going to be Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman one-on-one at SummerSlam.
Yes.
But because of the Braun Strowman injury, and they didn't really know how long he'd be out for. Luckily, it was only 6 weeks, but there was a fear that it could be a lot longer. So they had that fatal 5-way elimination chamber.
Yeah, because that was going to be the ambulance match, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then. Someone else was going to face Brock at Great Balls of Fire, and it ended up being Joe.
Yeah.
And Joe getting hot is what put him in the SummerSlam main event.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that one injury threw everything out as well. It's the thing that confuses me is No Mercy having Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman, which is a huge money match coming out of SummerSlam. Like, this could be the thing that elevates Braun to the next level. That's a Survivor Series caliber match.
I completely agree.
And John Cena versus Roman Reigns
on a random B show.
That's a Survivor Series
That's a
caliber match.
WrestleMania caliber match.
Yeah, you're right. And like, if we're talking 2000, 2001, 98, 99, that happened a lot. Like, you'd have, oh my God, Armageddon was a great show. But these aren't those times anymore. They do save those matches for the big four. Mm-hmm. And the ones in between are really just glorified episodes of Raw or SmackDown, but just on the network.
So yeah, I mean, I don't really know what's going on with this, but I like this theory though.
Yeah, so WWE do have they are hot at the moment, coming off Great Balls of Fire, SummerSlam. Ratings are kind of up.
Mm-hmm. Not so much Battleground.
Not so much Which Battleground?
That was the Punjabi prison.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that was in between them.
Not a great show, that.
So ratings are up at the moment. I don't know how much year on year they are. That's always the
It's lower down year on year.
Yes, that's the more interesting decline. But they're definitely up for week by week.
They're having better ratings now than they did in April.
Yeah,
which is WrestleMania season.
The post-WrestleMania lull. But we are now approaching the time when Raw is going to have a lot of competition on Monday nights, and that's because it's the return of the NFL, which does huge numbers. Not so much last year, I don't think, but you never know with football. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's slightly down. So maybe they are loading, rather than do what WWE sometimes do, it's, we're going to have competition. We just won't try for 3 months. Yeah. They do it on holiday shows. Everyone's probably going to be out, so we're just going to do a throwaway show.
I mean, let's look at the state of Raw this time last year.
Oh my God. What was that? It was more after Survivor Series.
I'd say, and pre-Survivor Series as well.
Yeah,
it was just the same four lads in the same four angles. But yeah, and like that was because Monday Night Football's on. There's no point in us trying to compete because we're not going to compete. So let's just do these mostly lame duck shows. And that was when Raw was really, really bad. It was also when SmackDown was great.
Yeah.
But my worry is if they're just going to go back to this mentality for Raw, while SmackDown is at its current level that it is, we're heading to some very, very dark months ahead of us.
I know. I'm hoping, because No Mercy gives me hope. All of these other plans aside, hopefully the reason they're stacking No Mercy is because they intend to just power through the football months. And what makes me think that even more, because I think it's either 2018 or 2019 TV rights come up for a renewal. And they need those to increase, really. As you would do. Otherwise the shareholders, it shows you want an incline rather than a decline with things. So maybe they figure we're going to have to just push through here.
Yep, maybe.
Learned a lesson from last year. Batista for the Hall of Fame next year?
He is one of the names that's rumoured. So the three names that are currently rumoured for like their headliners are Batista, The Undertaker, and The Rock. And the idea being that if it's one of those three, the other two won't be in the Hall of Fame for this year, because that'll be their headliner for this year, and then it'll just be full of your mid-carders, your random names, your one woman, and your one celebrity.
A tag team,
exactly, yeah.
I was under the impression that Batista's the name being discussed, but it is always on the table for The Rock or The Undertaker.
Yeah,
if The Rock just says, I want to go in the Hall of... Yeah, all right, I'll go in the Hall of Fame this year. They go, oh, thank you, Rocky. What else do you want?
I was going to say, I mean, of those three names, Batista is like definitely the low end of those three names, because like The Rock is a megastar. The reason they say that the Attitude Era, that era of wrestling, was so popular, and the reason why that 1999 through to 2001 period of wrestling was so hot wasn't just that you had competition from WCW and ECW. You had three very, mostly hot products with WCW and mostly hot for ECW. But the reason why WWF was so successful is because you didn't have one Hulk Hogan. You had two Hulk Hogans in Steve Austin and The Rock. You had two megastars who, like, if one of them was gone, it's fine, because we've still got the other one.
Yeah.
And then when you've got both of them there, the sky's the limit. It's why WrestleMania X7 was so huge, because it was Rock Austin. It was the second time they'd done it in 2 years. Oh no, the second time they'd done it in 3 years, but it was just huge because it was Hulk Hogan versus Hulk Hogan, and they've never had that period before, and they've never had that period since. And that part of that was down to The Rock.
Definitely, but to fight Batista's case, obviously
he is. I'm not going to say that Batista's not worthy.
No. I mean, it's a fictional place in a madman's mind. The Hall of Fame.
Drew Carey is part of the WWE Hall of Fame. Coco Beware is part of the WWE Hall of Fame.
So there really is no level of quality or predetermined factors. But when you think of Hall of Fame, I have no qualms with Batista as a headliner.
Not me.
I think it might be a bit early.
I think that's where I'm coming from. It's a bit early, but having said that, he's the hottest star in one of the hottest stars in Hollywood.
Well, I think I don't know if you know this, but do you know what the Hall of Fame kind of coincides with next year?
Avengers
Infinity
War, yeah.
Which Batista will be in as Drax. That's probably going to be one of the biggest films ever, and in terms of box office. And
there was a period in time when Batista when he was back and he was in the main event of WrestleMania 30. Part of the plan, as far as I can go back and remember, was Orton was champion going in. The headline was meant to be Orton versus Batista before the whole Daniel Bryan thing, and before CM Punk left, and then Triple H had to change his plans, which means he fought Daniel Bryan, which means Daniel Bryan went to the main event, blah, blah, blah. But the plan was it was going to be Orton versus Batista, and Batista was going to win. He was meant to win the world title during his return. And part of that is when he was working a part-time schedule, is that he could carry the belt around with him to these press conferences. So, like, he was doing Guardians of the Galaxy at the time, so he'd go to the Guardians of the Galaxy press conferences, all of his interviews, holding the WWE Championship and really get it onto this big stage. They didn't go with that in the end. They put it on Daniel Bryan instead. Probably the smarter move. Gave us one of the greatest WrestleMania moments of all time. Lovely stuff. So, yeah, I mean, Batista is a big deal, and he's a bigger deal now than he was in 2014. So if you're going to do, like, now doing all the press stuff for Avengers Infinity War, which is going to be a huge movie. That's a $2 billion movie, box office right there. He's going to be talking about the rest of the WWE Hall of Fame in all of his interviews.
Yeah, it's definitely a smart idea. I just timing wise, I feel it makes sense for Taker because he's been wrestling for so long,
and he retired last year.
Sometimes it feels like he retired a lot longer ago. But Batista only really retired... Well, he's done it twice, kind of walked away from wrestling. But because his career is a lot more recent, it feels quite sudden. I guess Edge had that, but he was forced to retire. It was kind of a different circumstance. And
the difference as well is that, like, Batista didn't really like his last run he had with the company. He didn't like the way the crowds were. If you read interviews with him and stuff, he was just like, I just don't get the way the crowd was. They were just chanting random things during matches. I'm trying to have a match with someone else, with Alberto Del Rio, and they're chanting for Daniel Bryan. He's not in the match, so what's the point in cheering for that?
I would love to see Batista have one last run.
And
culminated with a Hall of Fame induction.
His last run should have been better if Vince had listened to what he said when he was going in, because he said going in, I can't be a babyface because they're not going to cheer me. Whereas Vince McMahon was like, well, of course they're going to cheer you. Look at you. and you're Batista. Of course they're going to cheer.
Look at your tight jeans.
Exactly. And he walked in. What happened? Everyone booed him. Batista knew it was going to happen, and he turned heel shortly thereafter, but it was a really lousy heel turn.
Should we play injury time?
Yeah, go on then.
So, quite a few big injuries recently.
Yeah, they've had a bit of a bad go of it at the moment.
The most recent was Xavier Woods on Monday. He has a sprained MCL, I think it is, and he'll be gone for about 4 weeks probably. That's the usual time for that recovery. But he came down on SmackDown. It's kind of okay because Xavier Woods just stands at ringside while Big E and Kofi do the wrestling.
Unless he's in the match. And he's actually been the standout of the New Day as of late.
Yeah, really, really good. All the stuff in that Usos match was mainly not all him, but the big spots I was going to
say, I think the last 2 New Day Usos matches, the standout star has been Xavier Woods in across both teams. I love the Usos. I think the Usos are awesome, but I think that Woods really showed that he wasn't just the third wheel of that team, because it was always Kofi and Big E with Woods on the outside doing the things like that. And now they're putting him in the ring, and he's shown what he can do, and he's been great.
But at least they can work around that by
exactly,
just having
they can
him
work around it.
inside.
Yeah, perfect.
The benefits of a 3-person tag team.
Exactly.
But Samoa Joe, who is just a one-man wrecking machine, Saturday night knee injury.
Yeah.
About 4 to 6 weeks he's out, and that's what we were talking about earlier. That might have been what threw all the No Mercy plans in disarray. Or John Cena filming Bumblebee. We still don't know. So Joe's out. That's a shame because this is the hottest he's ever been coming off of SummerSlam and Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah, it's a real shame for Joe. Real shame for him. But then, of course, Big Cass was last week as another torn...
So that's the biggest one.
That's another torn ACL. And that is... he's going to be out for, at worst, 9 months. Which means... does that put him back for Mania?
No, miss Mania.
Oh, man, gutted. Absolutely gutted. It's always horrible for someone to miss WrestleMania. Yeah. Especially when he's just coming, like, at the start of your singles run as well, to miss out on Mania. It happened to Seth Rollins when he'd left the Shield, became WWE Champion, was heading into the Royal Rumble, heading into WrestleMania, knee blew out, and he missed both shows. It was gutted for him.
It's not like the Enzo feud has been incredible.
No.
The turn was kind of okay. Nothing was right on. Nothing was perfect with his heel turn. So maybe... I'm just trying to find a silver lining in a horrible situation. When he does come back, he could return as a babyface. Maybe you could just, it's been a while. Enzo and Cass are back together. Let's not talk about it. Which is horrible, but sometimes it works.
It would create a big pop. The question, I suppose, is will Enzo still be with the company at that point?
Yeah, good. That is another good point. Enzo's getting beaten down. I don't know. And then Big Cass comes out to save him. SAWFT swaffed.
I was going to say, I'd love it if it's if I were booking it. Enzo's just cleared house. He's actually standing tall in the ring. Then it's the Cass comes out. Enzo standing there. It's like, you know what? No, I'm ready for you. I've got a fight. I'm going to get into the ring, standing up, face to face, like looking up, looking down, and then someone tries to run at Enzo. Poof, big boot. Cass just knocks them out, and then they just clear house as a team.
That would be nice.
It'd be great.
Do you want to do Asuka? She's very close to your heart.
Very close to my heart. Bloody love Asuka. She's so awesome. Still can't fathom in the YouTube comments how people don't like her. It just baffles me.
Brock Lesnar. Only a few people.
Yeah, no, but even then, I just find it baffling. That's just me.
You think everyone should like Asuka?
That's because she's so good. I can't think of any. I can't look at that woman and think like, oh, I can see why people don't like you. I can see what's wrong with you. I just look at her like, she's everything. She's got absolutely everything. Whatever it is, she has it and so much more. So much upside with Asuka. And Kairi Sane as well, who was awesome in the first round of the Mae Young Classic. Anywho, she has suffered a shoulder injury, and she suffered the shoulder injury during her takeover match. And that's how good Asuka is. No one noticed.
I was really surprised. I was like, it happened in that match. What? Yeah. One of the best matches of the weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
And it happened like a midway through.
Yeah, and no one knows the point it is. Everyone's watching going like, can't tell when she suddenly realises that she's hurt because she's just
tough as nails.
She's tough as nails. It's the same with like the Finn Balor shoulder injury at SummerSlam. Last year, where he was injured within like the first few minutes of the match and then worked another 15 minutes. You wouldn't have known.
Japan, man. That's how you work.
That's how you
If
work.
you wrestle in Japan for a lengthy period of time,
That's what it is.
you suck it up.
So she was out with a shoulder injury, but it was thought to be fine because we haven't got TakeOver for another couple of months anyway. She could just appear at the TV show. She doesn't actually have to wrestle. She can just hide the injury. But instead, she has relinquished the NXT Women's Championship, which hasn't happened on TV this week. It's going to happen on TV next week. And so the story's going round is that she's going to be moved up to the Raw roster sometime next year after her shoulder is all healed up. The idea being
sometime next year.
I think that's what I read earlier. Yeah, it was something like they're
I
going
thought it was only out for 4 weeks.
Yes, but they're still going to hold it off and do the call up next year. Because like the storyline that they're telling is that William Regal is negotiating with Raw and SmackDown for who she's going to go to. I believe that's the case anyway. We'll find out next week on NXT TV how they edit it all together. And the gimmick is that she gave the belt over so they can carry on her undefeated streak up onto the main roster. So they can basically do the Goldberg thing, counting how many matches she's won, how many days she's gone undefeated since joining WWE. So that should be a fine little gimmick there. But I mean, it's just guessing that she had to give up the NXT Championship, especially from a shoulder injury and stuff. But the other side of this, flipping it over, taking it back to the Mae Young Classic, it does mean that the NXT Women's Championship doesn't have a title holder. So there has been a discussion, according to Meltzer in The Observer, of the winner of the Mae Young Classic. We're not going to give away who is in the finals. Could be for the NXT Women's Championship. So they win the Mae Young Classic and they also win the Women's Championship. Same way last year with the Cruiserweight Classic, they won the Cruiserweight Classic and the new Cruiserweight Championship. So that's also a possibility.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I would much rather see that because NXT's women's division is full of a lot of very competent, but like Asuka was such a different level to everyone else.
So high above everyone else. Yeah.
It is difficult now for one of them to hold the title. I think it'll be a lot better to introduce someone new. They get the title right off the bat. And then you can kind of work on bringing all these components at the same level again.
Yeah, I completely
agree.
agree.
And Kairi Sane would be a good choice. Not that she's just one of the 32 competitors.
I was going to say, of like those 32 competitors, they've got so many. Like, I was saying this to a buddy of mine because we were talking about the same way you were talking about them with the NXT Women's Championship, women's picture at the moment. So you've got some really good stuff now. I like Peyton Royce, like Billie Kay, I like Ember Moon, like Ruby Riott. There's some really good names in there, but none of them are like superstars like Asuka was, like Charlotte was, like Becky was, like Sasha was, like Bayley was. But now you've got this huge crop of talent that you can pick from the Mae Young Classic, and like you just take 6-7 names out of that, and you could easily pick 6-7 names out of that and still have loads left over. All of a sudden, your NXT Women's division is huge again, and it would be awesome.
And Ronda Rousey can squash them all when she comes in.
I do hope. Actually, I would love the WrestleMania match next year to be the 4 horsewomen of WWE versus the 4 horsewomen of UFC.
That's what's being planned.
That would be a great match.
But that's all we've got time for today.
Oh, damn.
So please click the videos that have just appeared over Luke's face to catch up with the latest episodes of WrestleRamble or the WrestleTalk news. Support WrestleTalk on Patreon. Click the subscribe button. Download the podcast. This has been Luke Owen. I've been Oli Davis, and that was Rambling.